Hey, everybody, how are you? It's Rob here for our BSP University call. It is great to be on with you all. And I see we have quite a few of us on. I am going to, like I always do, share for the first 10 minutes or so some tactics that are working and some cool things that you guys should be doing, especially today if you're interested in speaking engagements and doing speaking. And I'm going to share with you a little what I've done and my clients have done to be successful in this arena. And I am going to also suggest that you guys begin thinking of questions. And you want to type your questions in the chat box, because after that 10 minutes is up, I'm happy to answer questions about what I shared or anything else that you want to talk about regarding the publishing, promotion, and profiting with your best-selling book. So let's go ahead. I want to talk to you first about speaking engagements, and something that a lot of my clients, like yourselves, are really interested in, something perhaps that you're already doing and maybe doing successfully. We talk about in the profit phase, you may recall, 3 primary things that we want to focus on in Author 2.0 with your book. In Author 1.0, the idea is that your book is going to make royalties, and that's where you're going to make your money. But look, that's the old way of thinking. That's the old way of doing things. And in many ways, that's the least effective way to be successful with your book. Your book is going to make royalties either way. It's going to sell every single week, every single month, forever, as long as it's on Amazon and various other platforms. And in most cases, you don't need to do anything to actually have that happen. However, when it comes to Author 2.0 and really scaling and using your book to grow your income and your impact, the 3 things we focus on are using your book to generate leads, so lead generation for your business. Number 2, to use your book for media and publicity, radio, television, podcasts, blogs, etc. And then number 3, to use your book to get speaking engagements. And what I want to talk to you about today primarily is the whole idea of using your book for speaking engagements and ways to do it. And I'm going to give you some examples of some things that I've done recently. So first of all, there are 3 primary ways that you can earn money from speaking, okay? 3 primary ways. Now, there are 4 kinds of speaking. One is speak for free, which a lot of people do. But that doesn't necessarily make you any money whatsoever. So there are 3 primary ways to make money from speaking engagements. Most people think of way number 1, which, believe it or not, is generally speaking the least effective way, and that is to be paid to speak, okay? But most of you probably think, well, how do you make money from speaking engagements? Well, they pay me to come, they pay me to show up, and I'm here to tell you that that is, in most cases, the absolute worst way and the least successful way for you to make money via speaking. I'll give you an example. A couple of months ago, I was offered to do a paid speaking gig here locally. It was a 1-hour speaking engagement, and because it was local, I was willing to do it. I was paid $5,000 to do that. Hey, for 60 minutes, that's better than a sharp stick in the eye, right? I didn't have to travel. I could do it locally right here. Now, some of you guys know I don't generally keep my own schedule. I have an assistant that does that. But I made a mistake, a big mistake, because I had been asked to speak at another event that I had spoken at the year before. And believe it or not, I had 2 speaking engagements the whole first quarter of the year, and both those speaking engagements were on the exact same day. The one speaking engagement I was paid to be at, that was a keynote. That was the one I was paid $5,000 to do. The problem was the one that I was really wanting to do was in Dallas, Texas, which I had to fly to. I wasn't paid $1, not $1 to do that speaking engagement the previous year. However, I made almost $75,000 from that free speaking engagement the year before that I had to fly to. Why? Well, because I had something to sell. And so, believe it or not, I had to pass on the speaking engagement in Dallas this year, even though that's the one I wanted to, because I took this keynote speech which I was paid a $5,000 fee to do. So there are three ways. The first I told you is speak for a fee. That's the one I just explained. The second is to speak to sell from stage, meaning that you have a product or a program or something that you are selling right from stage. So you give a presentation and you speak and you inspire and motivate, and then you tell people to go to the back of the room and buy your cool thing. I've done that as well successfully. I do that via webinars quite a bit. The third way, believe it or not, and you have to have the right elements in place, but the third way is what I call speak to build. Speak to build. And the speak to build, at least for my company, for me, is by far the most lucrative type of speaking that I do. And speak to build is where you do a speaking engagement, but you're not necessarily selling something directly from the stage. What you're doing, though, is you're selling the opportunity and the next step with you. And the only way that that makes sense is if you have something expensive and high ticket to sell. So if you're a coach, if you're a consultant, if you have some type of done-for-you service, if you're a I guess consultant would be the term, but more like an attorney or a doctor or a financial advisor where a next step is required and there is a high ticket sale that's made, then speak to build works really, really well. And so what does that look like? Well, I've already shared what speak for a fee is. You know what that is. Someone pays you to come out and do a keynote speech. The keynote speech that I did for $5,000 cost me money because I didn't get to go to my event in Dallas, but I made $5,000. It was 60 minutes, and I could just drive right back home afterwards because it was only 30 or 40 miles from where I live. Now, it was a keynote, and the reason that even though I had a more lucrative opportunity, I couldn't cancel was because I was the keynote speaker, and I had already agreed to it, and I had already been paid. So you have to do what's right and accept the responsibility. Speak to sell. I did an event last year where I was asked to come out to a women's conference, but I was not paid at all to go to that conference. It was a women business owners conference in Minnesota in the Twin Cities. I'd never been, and so thought I would take my wife, I'd have a good time, we'd go out for a nice steak dinner, and I'd speak. And they told me rather than in lieu of paying me, they would give me an opportunity to sell from the stage and to sell my info program, which is now BSP University, where you have access to all of our information as well as the weekly coaching calls. But I wasn't going to sell my done-for-you service, which ranges from $13,000 to $25,000, where we actually do all the work for our clients. We write their book if they need that. We launch it. We make an international bestseller guaranteed. And then, of course, we help them to get on radio, TV, real media, that kind of thing. So I went to this event. I sold from the stage where I offered my $997 program, and I sold roughly 10 of those. But I also had several of those people that came up afterwards to me and asked about my done-for-you services, and one of those people bought my done-for-you service. So I ended up leaving that event that I wasn't paid for, earning about $25,000, $24,000, because I had both my product to sell, the $1,997 program, do-it-yourself program, and one of those people actually wanted to have me do all of that. Now, just last week I was out of town, and if you guys were on the BSP University call, then you know that because somebody else did the call. And the reason I was out of town was because I was doing a couple of different events. One of the events that I did was for a good friend of mine, Todd Herman, who does something called the 90-Day Year. And this event is about 500 business owners, and those 500 business owners are looking for ways to increase their income, increase their revenue, and many of them, as most business owners, are desirous of writing a book. So Todd wanted me to come and do a breakout session on, the Publish, Promote, Profit program. He told me that I couldn't sell from the stage, though. I couldn't offer anything, unlike the Minnesota opportunity that I had where I could physically sell from the stage. He said, no, we don't want to sell anything from the stage. We just want you to speak. So this is a speak to build opportunity. And I want you to do a couple of panel discussions as well. So I got pretty prominently featured at this live event with over 500 people there. Now, it's only been a few days, but I've already brought on several done-for-you clients, and I fully expect, I have 2 more phone calls today and more later in this week, I fully expect that that live event will earn Bestseller Publishing somewhere in the range of $70,000 to $100,000. So I was not, now remember, I was not paid to be there. I had to get there on my own dime. I had to pay my own way, my own room, my own everything. And in fact, if I wasn't a friend of Todd's, he would have charged me for the stage time. So that's number one. Number two, I was not allowed to sell from stage. I couldn't offer my program. I couldn't offer my info product. I couldn't do any of that. But I was allowed to speak to build, meaning that I could take people to next steps with me. And this event will end up earning me many, many, many more times the speak for a fee or the speak to sell. Okay? Now, I've done this multiple times at different events, and I have always found, again, I have a high ticket service, right? I have something that people pay a good amount of money for that brings them great success with their book and with their business. But if you have that, then I want you to understand that speaking to build, even if you have to pay to get on that stage, is the absolute best way if you're interested in speaking engagements in the first place. So what are the elements that you have to have in place? So let's talk about that for a few minutes, and then I'll open it up to any kind of questions that you have. Here are the elements that you have to have in place. Number one, you have to have a great high-ticket offer for people. That could be that you're offering them coaching. That could be that you're offering them consulting of some kind. That could be that you have a high-ticket service like Bestseller Publishing has. That could be that you are some type of specialized contractor, again, like a financial advisor or an attorney or doctor or something along those lines. But you have to have that high-ticket thing in place. We're talking about speak to build. That's number one. Number two, you have to have a dynamic presentation. You have to win people over. You have 60 minutes or so to really show them that you are the absolute best opportunity in the space for those people that are interested in your thing to want to work with you as opposed to everybody else. So I have my webinar formula basically. And Todd did a really interesting thing, which no one has ever done before. He said, I don't want you to have any PowerPoint slides. You're not going to be allowed to do that. Instead, you're going to have a whiteboard, and this is going to be a much more interactive thing. So you're going to share for a few minutes, and then you're going to answer questions, and you're going to go where the audience wants to lead you. You know, I actually enjoy that kind of thing. But what I did is I gave them the first 10 or 15 minutes of my typical webinar presentation where I talk about Author 1.0 versus Author 2.0, the old way to do things compared to the new way to do things, which is what we do. So I was able to take them at least part ways down the path of a dynamic presentation where they saw, look, this is the old way of doing things, which most people are unsuccessful with. Rob has a new way of doing things, which he actually even guarantees, I want to know more about Rob. So as you might imagine, I was flooded with people that came up to me after that presentation and asked to book time with me. So that's what I did. I went about booking time while I was at the event, in between the various panel discussions that I had. This was a working event for me. It was a lot of fun. It was really enjoyable. But I was working the event and booking those sessions. And then at those actual one-on-one sessions, those were what we call strategy sessions. And in the BSP University, I actually walk you through the exact kind of process you can use to close somebody into a high-ticket sale without it feeling like you're really trying to push. It's a very pull, where people are pulling the information out of you, and you're much more positioned as a doctor where you're poking for the pain. Does it hurt here? Does it hurt here? Does it hurt here? What kind of pain is it? Is it sharp? Is it dull? Is it nagging? And then you, as the doctor, come in with the ability to solve and help them in their pain. Again, it's only been a few days, but we've already booked almost $50,000 in new clients, and I still have most of the phone calls to do this afternoon and tomorrow before I go back out of town for Thursday and Friday. As I said, conservatively, probably 70 grand, and more than likely well over $100,000, all speaking to build. So to sum it up, 3 opportunities for you. You speak for a fee. This is how to get paid. You can speak for free and it not go anywhere. I don't want you to do that. When it comes to getting paid, the least effective way, speak for a fee. And even if you're well known, it's probably $5,000 or $10,000. You have to be a real superstar to command $25,000, $30,000, $50,000. So speak for a fee. Speak to sell from stage, which you need a great presentation that actually closes people while you're on the stage. Or what you're all capable of doing, and what is the best way to do it anyway, is speak to build, what I call speak to build, which is all about leading people from that presentation to a one-on-one consultation with you, in which you then sell your high-ticket program. So I went a little longer than I normally do. It's about 12:17 right now, so I gave you 15 or 17 minutes of content. Let me know what questions you have. Let me know what your thoughts are. Go ahead and type in the chat box or raise your hand if you want me to unmute you, and you can ask any questions you like. As always, if you don't have questions, that's cool, and we can end it early. But if you want to keep going, then I need you to ask me some questions so that I can answer it for you and help you in any way that I can. So you tell me, what do you want to do when it comes to speaking, and what kind of questions do you have regarding speaking or any of the elements of publish, promote, profit? I see Michael has said, hello, you beautiful people. Hey, Michael, how are you, my friend? Michael Botts is always one of the most encouraging people I know. He's one of our done-for-you clients, and we're in the process of getting his book completed so we can launch it for you. Love you, brother. Do you have a question, or anyone, if you have a question, now is your time to ask it. Otherwise, we'll sign off, and we'll consider it a great day. So I'll give you guys a few seconds to type that in and ask anything that you guys have regarding speaking, regarding publishing, regarding the promotion of your book, or regarding how to actually profit from it, which I gave you an example of how I do it. Don't be intimidated by the numbers. I know maybe it sounds like, wow, you know, $100,000 from a speaking engagement, that's crazy. It's really not if you have something high ticket to sell. So Michael says, how do you get in those stages to build to sell? Okay, so great question. So there's a couple of different ways to do it. The number one way, Michael, the number one way is you do it by paying to get on those stages. That's the number one way. And you might say, oh my gosh, you mean not only do I not get paid to go to a speaking engagement, but I actually have to write a check? Yeah, absolutely. Because the people that are putting on that event, they know that there's a certain amount of money in that room. And they're going to monetize the room based on who it is and who it is that's coming to speak. So, I've done that, and I've been incredibly successful at writing a check. Now, there are elements you have to have in place. You have to have a great presentation that you know is really going to work. You have to, have something really good to sell so that, you can make a return on your investment. Otherwise, if you just, try to wing it and pay to get on a stage like that, then more than likely, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a failure. So number one way is you pay to be on those stages. I will be on a couple stages later in the year that I'll be paying to get on. One of my clients, Shanda Sumter, I did her book, launched it to bestseller. She does a big event of 500 plus. I'll be paying to get on her stage. Now, I love Shanda. I was at her wedding just last week. She's a dear friend. But, she puts a lot of money and time and energy and effort into this. So, she needs to make money from it. So I'll be paying to get on her stage, and it'll go exceptionally well. Now, are there other ways to do it? Yes, there are. So another way to do it is events need to sell tickets. So some events, if you can put butts in seats, if you can actually help them to sell tickets, they will, in lieu of you paying, they will let you have a speaking slot, because they know that every one of those people that come are people that will potentially buy stuff. So sometimes they'll do it that way. And the only other way, there's, I guess, two other ways. One is you can put on your own event, which you guys know that I do one or two of my own events every single year. And the only other way is via relationships. And usually via relationship, there's some give and take. Like Todd is a very good friend of mine, so I didn't have to pay to be on that stage, but I was a contributor to his charity. I'm a very good friend. I've helped him in many ways. Bestseller Publishing has done publicity for him. So, there's been give and take there. I have served him. I have given to him. I have built a relationship. And in turn, when he had an event, he said, you know what? I want people there that will serve my audience, and Rob's a friend, so I'm going to have him there. So you need to build up some type of capital, Michael, whether it's real dollars by you writing a check and getting on that stage, or by you doing something for them, or by you building a relationship with them. So hopefully that makes sense, my friend. Charlene says, Rob, I've signed up for Speaking Empire, thinking this will help me with Speak to Build and speaking from the stage. Your thoughts? So love the guys at Speaking Empire. I'm helping Dustin launch his book. We helped him write his book, his newest book with Dan Kennedy. Dustin is a good friend of mine. I paid Dustin and Dave $12,000 to help me with my presentation and speaking from the stage. So, I'm a believer in those guys, Charlene. They're great. What they'll help you with is your actual presentation and how to actually sell from the stage. And they'll help you with a lot of elements. So there are other people that do this kind of thing and do a good job, but I love the guys at Speaking Empire. I'm a big fan of Dustin. I'm a big fan of Dave. So you're with good guys. And when you see them, I guess you're going to go to their event or whatever, you make sure you said Rob says hi, and that you're part of Bestseller Publishing as well, because those guys are fantastic. Love them. So good job with that. Sprouting to Success. What is the average amount to pay to speak on stage? Please give other examples of items to sell if you do not coach. So good question. So the average amount is very dependent upon the size of the audience. So at an event like Shanda's, where there's going to be 500 or 600 business owners there, I'll probably do a breakout or something like that, and that might be in the $10,000 to $15,000 range. If I want to speak from Remain Stage, generally that will be a shorter session, and that might be $15,000 and up to do that. But again, that's a very big audience. That's hundreds of people that she spent an enormous amount of money to put into that room. And if I can get, even 1% of those 500 people to buy my program, then I'm going to make six figures from it, 50 to 100,000 plus. So it's all about return on investment, and it's all about building goodwill. What other things can you sell? So if you don't have something high ticket to sell, coaching, consulting, some type of service that you offer, like we do at Bestseller Publishing, where we do everything for you, then it's some type of info product, right? It has to be as related to the audience and to your expertise, right? But if you're a fiction author, for example, then this doesn't directly correspond with you. Because for a fiction author, all that you're going to have to sell are copies of your books, which you can do well selling. You can print your books for $3 and sell them for 20. And if you're speaking to 500 people, you might sell 100 or 150 books at a profit margin of $15 to $17. So you'll profit $2,000 or $3,000 that way. If you can do anything, like if you have bundles of your books as a fiction author, or if you have like audio versions of your books, or maybe there's some way that you can create some type of product from your books, then you have something more to sell. And obviously a book has a limited value. You're not going to sell a book for more than about $20. However, if you have a bundle of books, 5 books you can sell maybe for $50 instead of $100. Or if you have the audio versions of that books, maybe you could sell a bundle of that and the audios for $100 instead of for $20. So again, for a fiction author that isn't a nonfiction coach, consultant, expert, etc., then you have to really think around the book and not so much around your service. So hopefully that is really clear and makes good sense. Michael says, okay, where do we get in the mix of these event planners? Do you have an outline? How do I put on my own event? Okay, that's a big question. So as far as being on other stages, here's what you want to do, and here's what you want to think about. You want to think about what your magic power is, who your ideal client is, what you're going to help them to achieve. So all I can do is give you an example for me, and then you can kind of fill in the blanks for yourself. So I'm selling bestseller publishing, or what we do to help, people that want to be authors. However, a survey by the New York Times 10 or so years ago stated that 80% of all Americans want to be an author and want to write a book. So could I go to any event and do my spiel and make money? I don't think so. So what do I have to do? Well, I have to narrow it down to the people that have the money and have the desire. In other words, they see a real ability to get a return on investment from the book, from it being a bestseller, and from the media. So for me, who is that? Well, that's business owners, that's coaches, that's consultants, that's experts, that's, professionals like attorneys and doctors and dentists and lawyers and financial advisors, etc. Those people understand the value of a customer. Those people understand the value of having a book and being positioned as a thought leader. So I'm now narrowing down my audience. So when I do a speaking engagement, I want to get in front of those people. I want to get in front of coaches. I want to get in front of consultants. I want to get in front of brick and mortar business owners or experts, okay? Now, there are many, many, many events that I could be a part of. I mean, there are literally thousands that I could be a part of. So how do I further narrow it down? Well, I have a lot of friends in this space, people that I've worked with, people that I have served, people that I've built a relationship with. So I, in essence, go to my clients or go to my friends' events, and I participate in those. Now, you may not have the relationships yet, but here's the deal. I didn't either 4 or 5 years ago. I built those relationships. So you can do the same thing, Michael. You can go out and you can think, okay, who is my ideal audience? I mean, if I spoke in front of 500 people and it was the right 500 people, who would be just running up to me with their credit card saying, I want to hire you to do this thing for me? And once you figure that out, then start doing some research and think, okay, well, who's putting on events right now that isn't a direct competitor with me, but is still putting the same kind of people in the room? That's somebody that I want to build a relationship with and get to know. And I would reach out to that person, and I would maybe go to their event as a paid attendee to get to know them, to get to know what they do, and begin building this. These relationships potentially are worth millions of dollars to you over the span of 5 years, 10 years, etc. So it's worth spending the time to build these relationships. So it's not as simple as going to an event planner, right? You want to do your homework, and if you're going to spend that kind of money to get on that stage, then you want to have all of your ducks in a row, because otherwise you're going to be throwing your money away. Your second question, do you have an outline, or how do I put on my own events? So the short version, I do have an outline. It's probably a little too long to go into it, to answer it directly here, but I can probably kind of draw it out for you to show you an outline of what an event would look like. I generally do 2-day events, okay? And I think in terms of 90-minute slots for 2-day events. So what I do is I have 4 slots for each day, like this. Each of these slots is 90 minutes. So the first one might be 9 to 10:30. This one right here on day 1, 9 to 10:30. And then we take a break. And the break is usually 20 minutes or so, or 30 minutes. So that means we come back at 11, and now we go 11 to 12:30. 11 to 12:30. Then there's another break, and that break is a lunch break. So you go 11 to 12:30, and you take, say, an hour to an hour and a half for lunch. Let's call it an hour and a half by the time people get back in the room. And that means that now people are coming back at 2. So the next one is 2 to 3:30. You take another break there, and then the last one is basically 4 to 5 or 4 to 5:30, depending on if you want to go a little late. So as far as an outline, this is the way I do my events, okay? Now, there's lots of nuance in these events, because if you do your own live event, you want to have a time, a moment, where you're actually going to be selling and offering your thing. And that time or that moment is, for me, at lunch on day 2, right here. okay? Lunch on day 2. And so, look, there's a lot of nuance in this. Maybe I'll even do a whole training on this if this is interesting to you guys. But this is, this is one aspect of it. The hardest part, believe it or not, is not the event and the teaching. The hardest part is getting people into the event, because that is difficult. You can't do that very easily with cold traffic. So you have to build a list of people that are already interested in your thing, and then offer them real value, something that's super valuable for them to, fly out to wherever you are, for me, California, pay for a hotel, pay for airfare, and then spend 2 full days with me. It has to be really valuable to them, whether they decide to buy my thing or not. And so the event, believe it or not, is not the hardest part. It's actually filling the event. So that's kind of an outline of what an event would look like if you were to do, say, a 2-day event. And as far as how to put it on, lots of moving parts there. What I may suggest to you, Michael, is, to start speaking locally, to start, kind of cutting your teeth and offering something to people for free so that you can learn the process, see what motivates and excites those people, and then find out from the talk itself, do you now have people from that hour talk you did that wants to actually pay you money now to do something for them? And if the answer is no, no one wants to pay you money to do something, then you have some elements in your talk that are missing. And what are those elements? Well, I don't know without knowing what your talk is, but you have to begin going through the discovery process to figure that out. So again, we do have some cool trainings in the BSP University for you to look at regarding speaking and all that stuff. But, the best thing you can do is like get in action and start doing it, and then see, are there people from that training that you did or that 1-hour speech that say you're amazing and what do you charge to do your thing? And if there are people wanting to take that next step with you, then you're on the right track. Now, they may not have money for your thing. What that means is that you did a good speech in front of the wrong audience. And that's cool. That's totally okay. That means that now you have the right speech. You just have to get in front of the right audience so that people will now have the money to actually begin to buy your services and do your stuff. So there you go. Great questions. Good stuff. We've been going about 35 minutes or so. I don't see any other questions. So now is the time. Jump in, ask your question if you guys have one. I know primarily we've been talking about speaking engagements. I hope you guys enjoy this stuff. I'm telling you, if you like speaking, you can make a lot of money from speaking. In fact, it's probably the highest paid skill in the world. When you're good at it, you can really motivate people to make some radical changes in their life and to join whatever program or thing or buy your thing that you're selling. Because it's a transformative process for people to see you speak. So highly recommend it, and you'll get great speaking opportunities with your books. By the way, I give a whole process in BSP University of how you can start getting speaking engagements, not the paid ones, meaning not where you have to pay, but where you actually have multiple opportunities to do speaking engagements. So I give you a whole process of how to do that using your best-selling book once your book is done. So that is all in the BSP University back office. It's under speaking as a topic. So other questions, my friends? What do you have for me? I'll give you a few moments. And if nothing, then we'll go ahead and sign off and call it a good day. And hopefully you guys learned a lot. By the way, hopefully you're all on our Bestseller Publishing Mastermind page. Do me a favor. After this session of BSP University is done, go to the mastermind page and just leave a comment. If you want to create your own post, then do that, or you can leave a comment under the BSP University post, because let's get people engaged. Let's let people see what they're missing by you telling them that it was a great session and you learned a lot, etc. I am recording this for anybody that can't be here, so do me that favor. When we're done, and that might be in the next minute or so, then just go over to Facebook, go to the Bestseller Mastermind page, and make a comment. Make a comment under my announcement of the BSP University call. I always announce the BSP University call on Tuesdays in our private group. So I don't see anything else. Lawrence says, will do. Thank you, Lawrence. I appreciate that. Congrats again on your success, my friend. Lawrence and Rich launched their book just a couple of weeks ago. Went fantastically. And now, of course, we're going to start our Done For You PR with you guys. I hope you're excited about that. That's the fun stuff. That's the sexy stuff. Getting on TV and radio and all that stuff. Very cool. Lawrence says the BSP team is amazing. Thank you. They are amazing. I love those guys. They're right over there. So they're fantastic. So anything else? I don't see any other questions. If not, I'm going to go ahead and call it a day. Everything's recorded. So if you want to see this again, it will be in the BSP University back office. Otherwise, do me a favor. Just take a moment, go over to the Mastermind page and leave a comment. Tell us what you got out of it. Leave us your thoughts, and we'll be much appreciated. Love you guys. Thank you for being a part of BSP. It's an honor to serve you. And as always, I am here for you on Tuesday. Come with your questions, and I am happy to help and answer. You guys have a great day. Talk to you next week.